She was a typical 15-year-old.
We would talk on the phone for hours.
He was the quiet type.
He's a little wimpy-looking feller.
It would have been a typical teenage romance.
They almost immediately began expressing love to one another in this undying devotion.
But there was one problem. He wasn't a teenager.
Anytime a 21-year-old wants to date a 15-year-old, most parents are going to raise a few eyebrows.
Her parents didn't stop there. They tried their best to break the couple up.
There was a confrontation.
He had blocked his vehicle in and threatened him.
But when the parents turned up dead and the girlfriend went missing, the police were soon wondering, had the boyfriend taken his revenge?
He told me that he was going to take care of everything.
And had he also taken the girl? Bedroom community just outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. Relatives pulled up outside the home of 15-year-old Amanda McGee and her parents, Terry and Elisa.
Family members had been trying to get a hold of Lisa McGee for a couple of days, and they grew very concerned because it wasn't like her not to return their phone calls.
Elisa's silence was doubly unusual because her sister had given birth to twins just days before.
I had my baby boys. My sister and Amanda were there with me that night.
Lisa was so excited about the babies. She was going to the hospital every afternoon from work to see about them.
But then for 3 days, silence.
On Friday, I was released from the hospital. We were expecting Elisa to at least come or call.
We didn't hear from her. And on Saturday, we didn't hear from her.
About 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, I thought, oh, something's wrong.
One of Elisa's cousins drove to the McGee house to check in with Elisa.
She knocked and nobody answered.
She went around to the other door to knock, and she could see enough through the glass Elisa laying in the floor.
A few quick phone calls brought both the sheriff's department and more of Elisa's family rushing to the scene. The family got there first.
I came right down, and my grandson was with me, and I told him just go to the front and kick in the door.
Inside, Linda Smith found her niece sprawled on the kitchen floor. She'd been shot.
When I realized she was dead, I was screaming for Terry. Terry, come help me. Terry, Amanda. Where are you?
Terry couldn't help. Family members found him seconds later, still in bed.
As you went back and opened the bedroom door of Terrence McGee's bedroom, you would see him laying in the bed, facing away from the door toward the wall with a gunshot wound to the head.
But where was Amanda? Her aunt ran to the 15-year-old's room.
I held the doorknob for so long before I opened that door because I knew I was thinking I was going to find Amanda in there dead.
The room was empty, leaving both family and police to wonder, did the missing Amanda hold the key to solving her parents' murders? Amanda McGee grew up barely knowing her birth mother.
My biological mom and I had no relationship. I didn't know her well enough to have a relationship. After her and my dad divorced when I was 4, she didn't have no contact with me.
Amanda's mother was a drug addict, and Terry felt the need to get Amanda out of that kind of situation. They divorced, and he became a single father.
When Amanda was 8 years old, her father began dating a 35-year-old accountant named Elisa Hackworth.
I remember the first time they met. It was awesome. We went to Red Lobster, and I remember talking her ear off. He didn't have one word in edgewise, because I fell in love with her the first moment I seen her.
The feeling was mutual.
Elisa didn't have any children, and she loved children, and she immediately fell in love with Amanda.
After a year of dating, Terry and Amanda soon moved in with Elisa.
I believe that gave him hope for Amanda to have a typical girl's life.
He needed somebody to help him with his little girl, and Lisa just seemed to be the right one.
Amanda embraced her new mother from the start.
She was always there for me. She helped me with my homework. She was a great mother figure to me.
She always called her mom. She said, my mom this, my mom that. It was a perfect relationship, we thought.
After 4 years of living together, Terry and Elisa decided to make their relationship official.
Terry wanted to be married, so it was, a family for Amanda. They wanted to do the right thing.
He just wanted to sneak off somewhere and get married, but we insisted that we could be involved and they got married at my house May the 20th of 2004.
While Amanda's relationship with her stepmother blossomed, her relationship with her father became increasingly contentious.
Me and him would always be mad at each other. We'd stay mad at each other about various things.
She and father were basically doing what most parents and teenagers do, and that's war with each other over independence.
And independence in Amanda's case meant the freedom to go out with boys.
Even when she was 12, she liked the boys because we'd go on vacation. We'd have to watch her constantly because she's out looking for her a boyfriend.
I went on vacation with her, and she spent all this time with this guy. She was very, very boy crazy.
When Amanda was in 7th grade, the struggle with Terry became serious enough to draw outside attention.
Me and my friend was writing about the abuse I was going through, talking about how I wanted to run away, to get away from it, and I was tired of it. Well, my teacher took up the letter and brought it to my counselor.
Department of Children's Services here in Tennessee got involved immediately. They investigated, and then the investigation was closed, and it was said that it was unfounded.
Were Amanda's allegations of abuse just preteen melodrama, or had the system failed to protect her? In spite of her troubles at home, over the next few years, Amanda grew into the typical teenager with a typical teen social life.
I was too occupied with playing soccer and going to school and going over to friends' house.
We would talk on the phone for hours, and either I'd be over there or she'd be over at my house all the time.
She had her share of boyfriends, too.
I was in a relationship, and I thought I loved this guy. I thought I loved a lot of guys.
She did have boyfriends. It's just typical teenager. You know, they might change week to week, day to day, but she did have boyfriends.
That would change in May of 2007, when Amanda met her first serious boyfriend. She met him through a mutual friend.
He said, he's really cool, and I was like, well, what's his name? He said, Andrew.
At first glance, Andrew Mann wasn't exactly a heartthrob.
He's a little wimpy-looking feller, and didn't look healthy, and he's real pale and skinny.
Andrew did have a few things going for him, however.
He told her that he had money and he was in construction business. He was his own boss.
He had a new house, motorcycle, a brand new car. He got me a very expensive ring. And it was real. I was with him when he got it. I was there when I pointed it out and everything.
Within weeks of meeting, the young lovers were already talking marriage.
I was so much in love with him. He busted out with, will you marry me? I've only known the guy for 2 weeks, and I'm already accepting a proposal to him.
They almost immediately began expressing, love to one another and this undying devotion.
When Amanda introduced Andrew to her best friend, Rebecca Duggan, Rebecca wasn't impressed.
I just felt like he wasn't a good boyfriend for my 15-year-old friend.
Her objection? Technically, her 15-year-old friend's new boyfriend wasn't a boy. He was a 21-year-old man, which may have been why Amanda hid the relationship from her parents.
Anytime a 21-year-old wants to date a 15-year-old, most parents are going to raise a few eyebrows and have concerns over that.
Andrew expressed his own concerns after Amanda told him about the ongoing struggle with her father.
He got really upset. He said, well, I'm taking you out of that house. He said, let's go run away together. Well, the next week, I ran away.
Worried, Terry and Elisa filed a missing persons report. Then, a week after she disappeared, they received a call from Andrew Mann's grandmother. As it turned out, the couple had been staying with her just a few miles away from the McGee's home.
His grandmother called my parents and said, we have your daughter here, and I'm sure you're looking for her, and so he had to bring me home.
Amanda returned home, but not for long. On June 12th, she ran away with Andrew again. This time, she was only gone a few hours.
Lisa calls Andrew and says, I know my daughter's with you. You gotta bring her home right now. If she's not here in 30 minutes, I will get a hold of you. Both y'all will be in jail.
When Andrew finally drove Amanda home, Terry was waiting.
I get home, and my dad blocks Andy in the driveway. And they have a very, very big argument. My stepmom put me in the house, and she said, close the door. I don't want you to see this or hear this.
Terry requested his driver's license and tag number, so if this were to happen again, it might end more quickly, to where the police could get involved and track him down.
After the confrontation, Elisa told her sister that she and Terry hoped it was the last they would see of Andrew Mann.
My sister would tell me, I think we scared him and this won't happen again.
On the afternoon of July 1st, just a few weeks after Terry and Andrew's driveway confrontation, Elisa's cousin came to the house looking for Elisa.
There was a birth in the family, and everybody expected her to come visit. She didn't, so they went over to check on them.
They looked through the window and they actually saw Elisa McGee slumped over on the floor and then called police.
Knox County 911. We had an emergency, please, at 3824 Jolly Lane. What type of emergency? Oh, well, I don't know. We didn't talk to my niece for 2 days, and my other niece went over to her house, and she called me back screaming. She spoke all along. The cars are there, and...
Oh. It's a medical emergency?
I don't know, honey. It must be worse than that, because we can't get them to answer the phone, and that's why we went to see about them. Elisa McGee, Terry McGee, and Amanda McGee.
Victim laying in bed like he had been asleep, and another victim in the kitchen laying in the floor, and there was no major signs of a struggle or forced entry or anything like that.
There was also no sign of 15-year-old Amanda.
There was a juvenile daughter that was missing from the house.
We were scared that something bad had happened to Amanda. That's what our thought was.
I was telling them, Amanda's missing. Amanda's missing. They've done this to Terry and Elisa and kidnapped Amanda.
Coming up, one of Amanda's friends has information that may help police find both Amanda and her parents' killer.
I looked down the road and I just saw a bunch of police cars, and I knew right away what had happened.
At a little after 3 on the afternoon of July 1st, 2007, the yard outside Amanda McGee's Knoxville, Tennessee home was swarming with sheriff's cruisers and emergency vehicles.
From Jolly Lane, where the house is, way back to Solway Road, was police cars and detectives and the sheriff and ambulance and the fingerprint people, just everybody.
Law enforcement had been summoned by Amanda's relatives, who had dropped by the house to check on the family.
Knox County 911.
We had an emergency, please.
It's a medical emergency?
I don't know, honey. It must be worse than that, because we can't get them to answer the phone, and that's why we went to see about them. Elisa McGee, Terry McGee, and Amanda McGee.
Who is that?
That's the people that live there. We were just worried about them because they wouldn't answer the phone, so we went to check.
Dispatch received a call from one of the family members. She had gone to the residence and looked in the back window and saw Elisa laying in the kitchen floor.
Moments later, they'd found Amanda's father, Terry, in the back bedroom.
The door was closed, and one of us opened the door, and there was Terry. We were just in shock.
They'd both been shot. From the position of Terry's body, police suspected he had been asleep.
We found him laying on his side with a gunshot wound to the back of his head. He was facing away from the entrance to the room, toward the wall in the bed.
Based on the crime scene, Elisa appeared to have been shot while trying to escape.
Elisa McGee had been shot several times in the back.
But who had pulled the trigger? There was no sign of forced entry or a struggle.
There was not a lot of blood streaked through the house and things torn apart. It would have looked normal other than to have these two bodies.
It was probably someone that they knew, and they probably did not expect that it was going to happen, but not necessarily a robbery.
But if Terry and Elisa weren't shot during a robbery, what had happened? Could a kidnapping explain the killings and Amanda's absence?
My sister Linda, she said, oh, something bad's happened to Amanda.
I was thinking that they've done this to Terry and Elisa and kidnapped Amanda.
At the crime scene that afternoon, Amanda's relatives filled the detectives in on the recent drama involving Amanda and her 21-year-old boyfriend, Andrew Mann.
She ran away for a week with him, and she came back.
Prior to the murders, there had been an incident in the driveway at the McGee residence where Andrew had brought Amanda back home.
And Terry McGee had told Andrew in no uncertain terms to stay away from his daughter.
Mr. McGee was threatening to report him for statutory rape. It was a very heated conversation. There was no doubt that Mr. McGee did not want this relationship to persist.
Had Andrew responded with violence? That's certainly what Amanda's relatives suspected that afternoon at the house.
They thought Andrew Mann had done this, and they were worried actually about Amanda. They were looking for Amanda to make sure that she was okay.
Amanda's relatives weren't the only ones worried. The blue lights and emergency vehicles swarming around the house soon brought out the entire neighborhood.
All the neighbors, of course, were, out in the yard looking around.
One of the neighbors outside the police cordon was Amanda's best friend, Rebecca Duggan.
I looked down the road and I just saw a bunch of police cars, and I knew right away what had happened.
Rebecca came down, and they, of course, stopped her. She couldn't get through, for the other vehicles.
That would change, however, as soon as police heard what Rebecca had to say.
I just looked at the closest police officer and I just started rambling on.
A young lady that lived up the street made contact with the officers and the detectives and said that she knew who probably did it because of prior conversations with Andrew Mann.
Of course, this is going to raise the interest of law enforcement, and they questioned her, and she disclosed that Andrew had been talking about executing a plan just like the one that had happened.
According to Rebecca, she'd first heard of the plan a few days before, not long after Andrew and Terry McGee had argued in the driveway. And she'd heard it from Andrew himself.
He told me that he was going to have a couple friends come and take care of the bodies and take care of everything. After that, I was scared. I didn't know what to do.
Rebecca not only revealed Andrew's role in the murders, she also told police where Andrew planned to take Amanda after he killed her parents.
Andrew had told me where they were going to be staying, and I told the police what car he was in. I gave him a picture of Amanda.
According to Rebecca, Andrew said he was staying with John Bassonsony, the father of a friend.
My son came to me and said that Andrew had been kicked out of his grandmother's house, and I'm not going to let kids live on the street.
By 7:30 that evening, law enforcement had surrounded the Bassonsony house. It was clear they weren't expected.
Amanda and Andrew planning a cookout with friends on that afternoon.
Amanda McGee was in the kitchen. Andrew Mann was in the kitchen. I was marinating steaks because I was going to put them on the grill.
The cookout would be cut short.
I heard somebody say, "Hey, is anybody home?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, come on in. The front door's open." Next thing I know, I've got a group of police officers standing around me. Very polite men. Asked for identification.
The officers immediately handcuffed Andrew. They then turned their attention to Amanda.
A lady officer grabbed Amanda and asked her for identification, and, well, I don't have any identification. And the officer asked her again. She says, "I don't have any." He says, "How old are you?" Well, Amanda told her 15. Top of my head like to come off.
Andrew and Amanda were both taken into custody. And as the couple was hauled outside to the waiting police cruisers, one of the investigators turned to their host.
I'm like, "What's this about?" He said, "We can't disclose this at this point because this is an ongoing investigation." And he asked some questions.
John explained to the investigator that Amanda and Andrew had turned up on his doorstep Friday evening.
Andrew came to me and asked if he and Amanda could stay there for a few days. I was told the young lady was 19 years old at that time.
He said his son's friends could stay.
My son vouched for him, so that was fine with me.
John told the investigator he'd seen little else of Amanda and Andrew that Friday. Shortly after arranging their accommodations, the couple had gone out for the evening with his son and some other friends.
That night, Andrew Mann, Amanda McGee went out for drinks, partying together and having fun with their friends.
They seemed nothing was wrong. They seemed like everything was okay.
They were very upbeat, like a young couple in love, having fun together, playing, bantering back and forth.
And the fun had continued the next day with a motorcycle ride to the mountains and a shopping spree.
It was probably $700 or $800 worth of items, Old Navy, so on and so forth.
Sunday morning, the couple had also accompanied the Bassonsony family to church.
The sermon that day was out of Revelations.
Little did the couple know that their blissful weekend together was about to end in a revelation of an entirely different sort. The news that Amanda had been found was quickly relayed back to Elisa's family at the crime scene.
The police call and say, yes, we have apprehended them. We've got them both into custody.
By this time, though, both the family and the police knew that Amanda was not Andrew Mann's victim. She was his accomplice. Coming up, was Amanda manipulated by her older boyfriend? Or was she the mastermind behind the murders?
I was just spilling my guts out, and it hurt so bad to have to tell the whole truth.
By 7:30 on the evening of July 1st, 2007, Amanda McGee and Andrew Mann were already in police custody. Earlier that day, relatives had found Amanda's parents, Terry and Elisa McGee, murdered and discovered Amanda was missing.
We were concerned about Amanda's safety. I didn't know if he had kidnapped her and killed my sister and brother-in-law.
Police found both Andrew and Amanda at a friend's house, preparing for a cookout.
All of a sudden we hear a very loud pound, and he said, KPD, open up right now. We have a warrant for Andrew Bryan Mann. And everybody's looking at Andrew like, why do you have a warrant for your arrest?
The officers told Amanda they had to take her into custody too. As Andrew and Amanda were put in separate police cars, investigators began searching for evidence at the house where the couple was arrested.
Next thing I know, I've got a forensics team going through my house. Do you mind if we search it?
The forensics team also searched Andrew's car parked outside. It didn't take them long to find what they were looking for.
The murder weapon was inside the glove box in the car.
The discovery appeared to confirm what Amanda's best friend Rebecca Duggan had already told investigators. According to Rebecca, Andrew told her about his plan to kill Amanda's parents. She also told police she knew where he had gotten the murder weapon because she had given it to him.
It was the victim, Terrence McGee's gun.
But how did Rebecca get Terry McGee's gun? According to Rebecca, it came from Amanda. She told detectives that the previous Wednesday, Amanda had asked her for a favor.
She asked me to go pick Andrew up from the gas station, and she pulled out a Crown Royal bag, and she put it in the passenger side seat, told me not to look in it.
Rebecca said she didn't have to. When she made the handover, Andrew had told her what was inside.
He picked it up, and I asked him what was in it, and he said a gun.
So why hadn't Rebecca told anyone about the gun? According to Rebecca, she had tried.
I knocked on the door, and Amanda answered, and I asked her if I could talk to Terry, and she said, what about? And I said, you know what it's about, Amanda. I'm not gonna let you kill your parents. She started crying, and she looked very torn up, and she told me she would call the whole thing off.
She didn't believe that they would really go through with it.
That had changed as soon as she'd seen the blue lights around her best friend's house.
When I looked down there and I saw all the police cars, all the people, all the family members, I just could not believe it. I didn't think it was real.
The same realization was slowly
believable. She couldn't have done anything like this. She could not have done it.
Obviously, Amanda's family did not think Amanda could have had anything to do with this. And I think it took a while to sink in what role she actually had in this.
While Amanda was taken to a juvenile detention center, Andrew was ushered into an interrogation room at the Knox County Sheriff's Department. He didn't deny his role in the murders. He told detectives the plot was his idea.
It was more so me than it was her.
But as the interrogation went on, it became clear that Amanda had been an active participant in the murders.
What built up to that Friday? Did y'all discuss things?
Went over there on Wednesday to get together.
Okay.
She wanted me to do it on Thursday, but I was like, well, I said, it's awful risky. I said, let's give it a day. That's it.
Andrew also added a new wrinkle to the story.
We found out 2 weeks ago she was pregnant.
Okay.
And she'll be in the 4th of July.
Okay.
So she was wanting to get out of it before they found out, because if they found out, they'd press charges against me.
According to Andrew, Terry McGee had threatened to do far more than report him to the police.
Well, he kept on demanding to see my ID, and he pulled a gun on me and said, listen here, buddy, you're going to give me the information I want, and I will shoot you. He said, that's your two options. He said, now which one's it going to be?
Upon learning she was pregnant, Andrew claimed he and Amanda had decided on a preemptive strike.
They planned it for about a week. She stole her father's gun.
Andrew told police he'd shown up at the McGee home on the morning of June 29th, armed with the same gun Terry had used to threaten him just 2 weeks earlier.
He was let into the house by Amanda.
She went back to her bedroom, which is straight back the hall. So I told her, turn the radio up just a little bit where she wouldn't hear nothing.
Elisa McGee was at work, but Terry had been asleep in bed, according to Andrew.
Went in there and started going around and threw back his head.
But why did they also kill Elisa McGee?
According to Andrew Mann, she would be a witness who could pinpoint them and maybe send them to jail.
So when Elisa arrived home from work at 5:15...
I went there with the gun. I told her to sit down on the couch that we needed to talk. And her first words were, you're going to kill me. And I told her, I'm sorry, I have to.
Andrew Mann gave a full confession to law enforcement about killing Mr. and Mrs. McGee.
But what about Amanda? When it was her turn to be questioned, she was initially much less forthcoming.
I confessed to it. She broke down in tears and started telling her story.
Talking, she corroborated everything Andrew had already told police.
Basically, both of their stories were so that they could still be together.
Sheriff's deputies booked them both for the murders of Terry and Elisa McGee.
Andrew Mann was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder.
Only 15, Amanda was charged as a juvenile.
We charge juveniles with delinquency by manner of whatever crime they've committed. Amanda McGee was charged with 2 counts of delinquency by first-degree murder.
But would she be tried as a juvenile? Or would the prosecution attempt to have her tried as an adult?
The prosecution will make a decision about whether they want to undergo what's called a transfer hearing and look at a host of factors that are probably pretty common sense: her age, the nature of the crime, and other factors such as that.
In Amanda's case, the nature of the crime was stunning enough in its own right.
Amanda and Andrew had actually got my sister's ID and credit card. They had gotten gas, and they went out to dinner that evening.
In addition to that, the very next day, Amanda and Andrew went shopping.
We went to Tanger Outlet Malls, and he bought me maternity stuff and stuff for the baby.
They went to church on Sunday. They did remarkably normal things after killing 2 people.
On July 3rd, Amanda sat down and wrote a letter to Andrew, who was being held without bail in the Knox County Jail. In some ways, it was a typical teenage love letter.
Amanda McGee's letter was filled with statements of love for Andrew.
Amanda's love was tinged with regret. Regret over Andrew's arrest.
She wrote a letter that actually said, I hope you don't have to stay in jail a long time. And then she said, you may be 99 before you get out of jail. Don't worry, I'll wait for you, and I'll come to visit you.
According to the letter, Amanda clearly expected she'd get out of jail soon.
I remember talking about how I'm going to get out when I turn 18 and all this other stuff.
She was only 15, and she naturally assumed for her that meant that she was just going to spend a little time in juvenile and then she was going to go home.
Amanda's astonishing statements didn't stop there either.
She actually said, I'm not sorry that it happened, I'm sorry that we got caught.
On July 13th, the prosecutors filed to have Amanda McGee charged and tried as an adult.
The prosecution sought permission from the court to treat her as an adult because of the nature of these crimes.
Coming up, will the court decide Amanda can be tried as an adult?
The judge had been crying because his face was really red and it looked like his eyes were wet. And he was like, Miss McGee, may you stand.
And at trial, Andrew Mann takes the stand and explains his motive for murdering the McGees.
She kept on insisting. She said, well, baby, she said, if you love me, you're going to do this.
On February 25, 2008, bailiffs led Amanda McGee before the judge who would decide whether she would be tried as an adult for her parents' murders. She had been held at the juvenile detention center for 7 months, with no family willing to post bond.
I was scared. I was very scared. I was depressed. Very, very, very depressed.
We were at a real, struggle with our feelings because that, we cared about her and loved her, and she was part of our family.
Amanda was also 8 months pregnant.
I felt sorry for her. She was ready to have that baby, just about. And I thought, oh my, a young lady messing up her life like this.
It was very hard. It was, she was such a child and so immature. I didn't know what to do about that, but there wasn't anything I could do about it. It was not up to me.
Instead, the decision of whether or not to try Amanda as an adult rested with a judge. There was a lot riding on the outcome.
If held and charged as a juvenile, the maximum punishment she could have faced would have been 4 years in the custody life without parole.
On February 26, both sides made their closing statements.
Judge Irwin said, well, let's close for a 5-minute recess for let me to make my decision. Well, I looked at my attorney and I said, what's going on? And she was like, oh, you're fine. I feel very good about this.
When the judge came back, it was clear that his decision had not been made lightly.
I could tell he hadn't been crying in those 5 minutes because his face was really red and it looked like his eyes were wet. And he was like, Miss McGee, may you stand.
His decision? Amanda would be tried as an adult.
He was like, Miss McGee, I know you're a very good lady. You have no prior criminal record. But due to the evidence that I have no choice but to send you to adult court. Well, the second he said adult, I screamed. And I fell back into the chair.
Things changed dramatically for her when the prosecution won its effort to treat her as an adult.
2 weeks later, on March 14th, Amanda gave birth to a baby girl.
The baby was given up for state custody.
It was put into foster care, and ultimately the foster parents adopted the baby.
December 1st, 2008, a year and a half after Amanda McGee's parents had been found dead, her boyfriend, Andrew Mann, stood trial for their murders.
I walked in the door of trial really wondering what his defense would be. There was no doubt that there was some premeditation involved.
Andrew had confessed as much in a statement he made the night of his arrest.
He gave a very damning confession. And of course, the facts are pretty chilling.
Yet despite his confession, Andrew had pled not guilty to both charges of first-degree murder.
A lot of times in a murder case, when it goes to trial, it's simply a disagreement over what level of killing was it.
In her opening statement, the prosecutor argued that everything about the crime was premeditated.
The father was killed about 11:30 in the morning. They did leave the residence and ride around, go get something to eat. When they came back, about 4:30, they went inside the house and waited for her to arrive.
I think a court would have a very difficult time finding that there was anything but calculation going on in that time frame.
To underscore the calculated nature of the crime, the prosecutors played excerpts of Andrew's taped confession for the jury.
My first words were, you're going to kill me. I told them, I'm sorry, I have to.
Particularly with the stepmother. In that death, it was almost a cakewalk in terms of premeditation.
When it was the defense's turn, Andrew's attorney didn't dispute that the killings had been premeditated. However, he did argue that it wasn't Andrew who did most of the planning.
Andrew Mann's defense team was trying to blame it on Amanda McGee's side, saying, well, she was the one that really was the brains of the operation. She's the one that coerced him to do it.
According to the defense, Amanda had admitted as much in her jailhouse letter to Andrew.
She wrote down exactly what she did. She acknowledged what she did. I'm sorry I made you do that.
That letter actually was a key piece of evidence for the defense.
The letter was also the perfect setup for Andrew to take the stand in his own defense on December 4th.
You think of someone that could do something like this would be just a monster. But he was just a naive young man that was very immature.
He came across as weepy and weak, and perhaps you could see how he might be manipulated by a teenage girl.
And by Andrew's account, he was easily manipulated.
Andrew Mann's defense was that he was a very socially awkward, nerdy kind of guy who had never had the affection of a young lady.
Amanda hadn't been just any young lady either. According to Andrew, she'd made herself out to be a regular damsel in distress.
She kept on insisting. She said, well, baby, she said, if you love me, you're going to do this.
He felt like he didn't have a choice, that he was trying to protect his girlfriend.
And who did Andrew think he was protecting Amanda from? Her abusive father.
He said that Amanda had told him these lies about her father.
I told Andrew all of it, every single detail of what happened between me and Terry. And then he really snapped. He said, well, what do you want me to do? I said, do something. And I guess he twisted my words around and thought I meant literally get rid of him.
Andrew's defense had evidence that Amanda had made the accusation before. In fact, 3 years before meeting Andrew, Amanda and Terry had both been interviewed by the Department of Children's Services.
They had nothing to back up these abuse claims. The only word that anyone had that any of this had gone on came from Amanda.
They came to my school and interviewed me, and they notified bruises and took notes of everything, and they recorded my conversation with them. They had promised me they'd do a random follow-up check out of nowhere to come to the house, and they never did that. And I feel as though that I lost. The reason I have a very big trust issue is because of DCS.
Even if the allegation was true, did it excuse the crime? In closing arguments on the morning of December 5th, the prosecutor stressed to the jurors that Andrew was on trial for 2 murders.
They didn't stop with murdering her father, this alleged abuser. 9 hours later, they murdered her stepmother.
The case went to the jury just before noon. And unlike the 9 long hours Andrew and Amanda spent waiting to ambush Elisa, it wouldn't take the jury long to come back with a verdict.
They didn't stay out more than 30 or 40 minutes.
The jury did not take a lot of time to decide the case, particularly given that it was 2 counts of first-degree murder.
The jury found Andrew Mann guilty on both counts. He was sentenced to receive 2 life sentences. When Amanda heard the news, she had very different feelings from the ones she had expressed in her letter a 1.5 years earlier.
I didn't make him commit those murders. He was 6 years older than me. He had supposedly the maturity level to know that he should have been the older one and the wiser one to say, no, this is stupid. You're stupid for even thinking about something like that. He got 2 life sentences, which was 102 years.
Coming up, will a jury decide Amanda is too young to be held responsible for her parents' murders?
If anyone had a shot at some sympathy from a jury, it would have been Amanda.
On July 20th, 2009, Amanda McGee was back in a Knoxville, Tennessee courtroom. It had been 2 years since her father and stepmother had been found shot to death, and just 4 months since her boyfriend, Andrew Mann, had been tried and convicted for the murders.
He received 2 life sentences. He's to serve those consecutively, and that's 102 years total.
A juvenile judge had ruled that Amanda be tried as an adult on 2 counts of first-degree murder for her role in her parents' deaths.
Amanda was absolutely knee-deep in every aspect of this. She was facing the possibility of 2 counts of life without the possibility of release.
But the 17-year-old hadn't come to court that morning to face a jury. Instead, she'd come hoping to avoid one.
She pleaded guilty to 2 counts of second-degree murder.
It shocked my whole family because my whole family was there expecting a trial.
If anyone had a shot at getting sympathy from a jury, it would have been Amanda. So it was a surprise when she pleaded guilty.
In exchange for the plea, Amanda agreed to a 45-year sentence.
I looked at my attorney and I said, well, here you are telling me I'm doing a lot of time in prison. I said, that's a long time, but not as much time as you've been saying I was going to have. And I said, well, let's take it.
I was very relieved that she pled guilty because I knew if she didn't, that she would be found guilty. And she probably got a lot less time for pleading guilty.
For Elisa McGee's family, it was a relief not to have to sit through another trial.
It was so bad to go through his trial, and I just hated to have to do that.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. and listened to that for a whole week.
After all, the confessed murderer standing before the judge was still the little girl they'd known and loved.
I wanted Amanda to have a break. I didn't think she deserved a life sentence.
We're satisfied. Whatever punishment that she received is not going to change what has happened or bring my sister or Terry back. So we were just happy that she did receive the punishment that she did.
As for Amanda, she is no longer the 15-year-old girl whose only regret was getting caught.
I know now that if I was halfway thinking that this wouldn't happen. And I know this isn't possible, but I want some kind of sign from Lisa that she forgives me.
They were an unlikely couple from the start.
She was a good girl, and I was always kind of living on the edge.
And those differences eventually became irreconcilable.
There was no getting along there.
It was a fight every morning.
The result was a bitter divorce. And the drama's final act would find authorities caught up in a potentially fatal game of he said, she said.
She was constantly wishing that man dead.
October 23, 2007, Josh Milliger walked into the Aurora, Missouri car dealership where he worked.
As soon as I walked in the door, I noticed my lights flashing. And co-workers saying, hey, the phone's been ringing off the hook, something's going on.
Josh checked his messages. They were all from a man named James Mushy.
I call him back, and he goes, well, this is Sergeant James Mushy, Missouri State Highway Patrol. It'll take me an hour to get there, and you better be standing out front when I get there. So I'm just, oh my God, what'd I do? You know, I'm thinking, speeding ticket, no, I paid that. I'm thinking, you know, the tags are good on my truck. I mean, a million things going through my brain.
But one possibility stood out from all the rest. Josh's ex-wife, Esther Wadley. Since their divorce almost 3 years earlier, Josh and Esther had been locked in a bitter battle over custody of their daughter.
As bad as the divorce was, I actually got thinking she set me up, that she's put drugs in my car. And I actually went out to my vehicle and I crawled underneath it. I tore everything out of the glove box, under the seat. I mean, I looked everywhere. Nothing.
Set up or not, Josh was waiting when the unmarked car arrived an hour later.
We asked him to come out and sit in our vehicle with us.
He was a little hesitant to sit down and talk with us because we wouldn't tell him what we were there to talk about until we were in private.
So, I mean, I'm just bewildered. I'm not handcuffed. I haven't read read my rights.
Josh's suspense didn't last long, and as it turned out, he had been set up, just not the way he expected.
I said, well, Josh, I hate to tell you this, but I've been hired to murder you.
Esther Wadley and Josh Milliger first met in 1995 at a Southern California restaurant.
Just a bunch of friends out one night. We're sitting at a local restaurant, and she had walked by, sat down, we just started talking.
A California native, Esther was attending the Western University of Health Sciences, a medical school in Pomona. Josh, originally from Missouri, was a warehouse clerk.
She was always kind of the good girl, and I was always kind of the, living on the edge kind of guy.
Edgy or not, Esther appreciated Josh's attention.
I think she was very insecure about herself. She had brains and she's a very pretty woman, but she was insecure.
Josh appreciated Esther's potential.
She was just finishing up her third year of medical school. She had a good, promising job coming up.
Within weeks, the couple moved in together.
He was attentive, helped her out with the laundry, the housework. It was kind of a mutual give and take relationship that most people would want.
Esther graduated in 1996. That same year, she and Josh decided to move to his home state of Missouri for her residency.
We decided that Southern California, the rat race, was just a little too much. We knew if we were going to make a big move that when she graduated medical school, then that was the time to do it.
The couple bought a house out in the country. Josh took a factory job to help supplement Esther's income as a resident.
Practicing medicine does not automatically make you rich. You have student loans to pay back, that are extremely expensive.
She was working a lot of hours. We tried to spend the weekends together, but it was a very hit and miss time with her work and my work.
The couple did manage to hook up long enough to get married, and before the year was out, Esther was pregnant.
It was a surprise to both of us, but at the same time, it was a joyous time.
Esther gave birth to a baby girl in August of 1997, but their joy over their new daughter was soon overshadowed by disagreements about her care.
The original plan was for me to continue working and then her stay home with the child. Not too long after my daughter was born, she'd start saying things like, I can't do this, I don't want to do this, I'd rather be at work.
According to Josh, that's why he left his job while Esther went back to work.
I stayed home with my daughter full time. She went right back into her residency program.
However, Esther told her friends and family that Josh quitting his job wasn't her choice.
What she told me, his words were, why do I have to work? I'm married to a doctor.
Being a doctor at the time, we were very financially set.
Over the next 3 years, Josh stayed home. Esther supported the family financially, with occasional help from her parents.
She supported him. We supported him, too.
She had a job 24/7. After she finished her day at the hospital, she would moonlight at other hospitals from 7 to midnight, picking up more money, all in ER.
For Esther.
She would say things in the mornings like, I don't want to go to work. Why do I have to go to work? It's not fair that I have to go to work. It was a fight every morning for her to go to work and be there on time.
But there was more going on than just the average work burnout. In 2002, Esther was diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
Some days she would be so lethargic you could barely get her to talk, and then 5 minutes later, boom, she'd be running 90 miles an hour.
And the bipolar disorder only exacerbated the problems between Esther and Josh.
She did resent the fact that he just quit working after she had the baby.
She wasn't happy with him, and that she felt like he was a loser.
And when Esther's hospital job ended, her new job only compounded the problems in their marriage.
She was under contract at a prison in Jefferson City when they were needing a doctor to come up and tend to the inmates.
But in June of 2002, the prison contract came to an abrupt end.
She said that there were problems with prisoners there and that they just couldn't have a woman doing that job.
With their daughter and son-in-law both unemployed, Esther's parents quickly intervened.
Her parents bought and opened a clinic for her in Republic, Missouri.
We got right in behind it, and we would do anything to make it succeed.
Esther seemed to excel in the new environment, too.
She was a good doctor, and as far as her personality, the patients all seemed to like her.
She was outgoing, and very talkative.
Soon, Esther was one of the small community's most popular practitioners.
She had a good clientele built up.
It kept getting bigger and bigger, and there was a lot more people. And she seemed like she was doing really well.
But her thriving practice only increased the friction between Esther and her stay-at-home husband.
She kept on going that she wanted to leave him.
There was no getting along there. Them two they knew how to push each other's buttons.
The final break came at the end of 2002. On December 8th, the Barry County Sheriff's Department responded to a domestic disturbance call at Esther and Josh's house. When they arrived, deputies found the couple locked in a heated argument.
They proceeded to basically separate us. They sat me down in the living room, they took her outside and interviewed us.
According to what Esther told the officers, she'd gone out the evening before to a friend's Christmas party without telling Josh.
Thought they're just out Christmas shopping.
And Esther had stayed out all night.
By 9:30, I'm panicked. I've called the cell phone 20, 30 times. Called a couple of her friends. Hey, have you seen her? I can't find my wife.
7 o'clock in the morning, Josh was calling my house saying, where's Esther?
It wasn't long after that Esther finally came home. According to what she told the deputies, that's when the fight had started.
She told us that he accosted her, actually hit her, and said, "Get out."
In his interview with the authorities that morning, Josh told a somewhat different story. He not only denied hitting Esther, he also added a new detail to Esther's story: why she had stayed out all night.
She basically looked at me and very coldly, like it was nothing, said, "I spent the night at a hotel with a guy that I met at the party. I told him that was unacceptable. She needed to leave."
Esther agreed. Sheriff's deputies escorted her off the premises and filed an incident report. The next day, Esther did some filing of her own.
She went straight to attorney's office and filed for divorce.
Both Esther's affair and the divorce caught Josh off guard, but she had more surprises in store for him. Esther cut him off financially and even cleaned out the house.
It was empty. There was nothing. She took the light bulbs out of the permanent fixtures. She took the little toilet roll dispenser. She took the paper off the bottom of the shelves in the cabinets. She took everything.
Esther found her own place and settled into a contentious custody dispute with Josh over their daughter.
She was supposed to get her the first and third weekend of the month. But if the first fell on a Sunday, she didn't get her daughter. Because in his eyes, that wasn't the first weekend of the month.
That's all she talked about. Complained constantly about her husband pushing her buttons, playing games in the divorce case.
And the more games Josh played, the more Esther's frustration mounted.
She was constantly wishing that man dead.
It might have been in her prayers every night that he dropped dead.
To add to her stress, in 2003, Esther had to close her clinic.
I don't think she has business sense. It just blew my mind that the office was ran the way it was ran. The billing wasn't corrected, and half the time they wouldn't collect the monies that were due.
But according to Esther, all of her problems stem from the same source: her soon-to-be ex-husband.
She was convinced that, Josh was the bad guy, or at least, mostly to blame for her problems.
Even Esther's friends suspected Josh might be behind some of her problems.
Josh lost his sugar mama, so to speak. He had to get a job. Oh my. Be in the real world. He couldn't just do whatever he did while she worked.
And Josh's response? According to Esther's parents, he told Esther that he'd eventually get even.
He says, "I can and I will bring you down."
Coming up, how far will Esther go to get custody of her daughter?
Esther was very paranoid about saying the word kill or murder.
I couldn't have somebody's death on my conscience.
Fall of 2007. The past few years had been busy ones for Esther Wadley and Josh Milliger. In 2004, their contentious divorce was finalized. Josh stopped being a stay-at-home dad and started a job with a local car dealership. Esther had closed her clinic and focused most of her energy on getting custody of her daughter from Josh. And though their marriage had ended, their bitter arguments hadn't, a point that became crystal clear on October 17th when Missouri State Police received a phone call from the FBI.
My supervisor was contacted by a special agent from the FBI requesting we contact a gentleman by the name of Paul Bell.
Bell had called the FBI earlier that afternoon, and he claimed to have information about a murder plot.
A former doctor of his by the name of Esther Wadley had contacted him within the past couple of weeks, requesting he find a hitman.
That evening, Sergeant Mushy drove out to the Bells farm.
James Mushy came to our house, and he asked me if I thought she was serious. I said, well, I'm going to be honest with you. I said, yeah, I'm pretty doggone sure she's serious.
According to what Paul told the highway patrolman, it had all started 8 days earlier when he'd run into Dr. Wadley at the Christian Service Center.
The Christian Service Center is one of those organizations that's nonprofit and helps low-income families with needs.
The Bells were occasional clients.
was the end of the crop season, so times were a little tight for us.
And when Paul walked in that afternoon, he noticed Esther Wadley apparently volunteering at the center. Paul hadn't seen Esther since he had tried to make an appointment in 2003 and discovered her clinic had closed permanently.
I called one day to make an appointment, and there was no doctor no more.
I had missed her. I thought of her as a friend, more so than a doctor.
And Paul greeted Esther like an old friend when he ran into her at the Christian Service Center.
I said, "Long time no see, what you up to?" And she looked at me real funny, and she said, "Do I know you?" I said, "Yeah, you was my doctor."
When he came back, he looked at me, he said, "You'll never guess who I ran into." And I asked him who it was, and he said, "Dr. Wadley." And I was tickled. He told me, he says, "Well, don't be too happy." And I said, "Why?"
The reason why, according to what Paul told Sergeant Mushy, had to do with what Esther had asked him that afternoon.
She said, "I need you to do me a favor," said, "I need to get rid of my old man."
According to Paul, Esther not only wanted her ex-husband gone, she wanted him dead.
She said, "I just need to get rid of him totally, till I need him killed." I told her I had some friends in Tennessee. That way nobody ever know nothing about it.
According to Paul and Teresa, Esther had come to their house on October 11th to discuss things further.
She sat down in their living room and laid out a plan how she wanted her ex-husband killed.
And why did Esther want Josh killed? The way the Bells explained it, it had to do with a custody dispute.
They had an ongoing custody battle.
She said that with him gone, with him dead, she would get custody of her daughter.
As the Bells explained to the police, Esther was willing to pay.
Mr. Bell verified, in fact, that he had been paid $200 by Esther Wadley to either murder her ex-husband or to have someone do the job.
And the Bells claimed Esther had ended the meeting by promising a bigger payoff.
She said, "Well, said, when it all comes about and it's done and over, they'll be well compensated."
According to the Bells, Esther's offer had left them in a quandary. Should they simply keep the $200 or call the cops?
At first, we were going to just leave it alone. But it bothered me so bad. I couldn't have that. I couldn't have somebody's death on my conscience.
Now the question before Sergeant Mushy and the Missouri authorities was, were the Bells telling the truth?
He was a little skeptical because he told me that he may have to have me to take a lie detector test. I said, "That's fine and dandy, buddy," because I said, "I'll take 100 of them. I don't care." I said, "The truth's the truth."
Then Paul Bell slid a small stack of papers across the kitchen table to the sergeant.
It had a picture of Josh. It had a picture of her daughter.
And a handwritten piece of paper that gave Josh's full name, his address, the date of birth, where he worked, a description of his truck.
Sergeant Mushy asked Paul Bell if he would call Esther.
When it comes to evaluating the truthfulness of an informant, you simply have to verify that in any way you can.
Bell agreed, and Sergeant Mushy recorded the ensuing conversation.
"I just wanted to see if you want to meet my buddy." "Well, I think that would be a good thing."
On the tape, Esther was evasive, but it was enough for the sergeant.
After he provided me with the paper documents and made the phone call, I was convinced that it was a legitimate case.
An arrest would require more evidence, however. Recruiting Sergeant Mike Rogers to play the potential hitman, the investigators returned to the Bell farm the next day.
We placed another phone call to Esther Wadley to try to facilitate an undercover meeting that afternoon.
"My buddy's here. Yeah. And he's wanting to meet you and see if you're serious about this. You know what I mean, Vern?"
"Yeah, kind of sounds like a setup."
She was quite paranoid to meet me. She told Paul that she wasn't supposed to meet anyone. She'd already given him the money. She wasn't supposed to know anything about it until after the job was done.
The whole thing was that I'm not supposed to know anything.
"Well, he wants to talk to you and see if you want to go through with it and all for sure. Because I know people talk when they're upset.
That afternoon, the Bells drove to the parking lot of a local lumber yard with Sergeant Rogers. Rogers was wearing a wire, and Sergeant Mushy was nearby to monitor the conversation.
I was in a undercover surveillance vehicle watching.
A little before 3, Esther pulled into the parking lot.
Esther got in the vehicle, and Paul immediately told her, well, this is the guy that is going to do the job. He introduced me as an old friend who was experienced in...
Dead.
He said, but let's get down to basics. Let's get serious. What do you want done? And she hee-hawed around a little bit.
Esther was very paranoid about saying the word kill or murder.
Sergeant Rogers forced the issue.
She had given Paul a picture of Josh Milliger and written his address and license plate number on the picture. And I showed her that picture and I said, this is the guy you want taken out, right? And she said, yes.
But she balked again when Rogers asked for money.
She stated that Paul had the money and call her when the job was done.
The meeting was over. But as Esther drove away, Sergeant Rogers was confident they'd gotten some incriminating statements on tape. But thanks to a technical glitch, the tape was blank. None of the exchange had been recorded.
Our surveillance vehicle, it was still using VHS tapes at the time, and the VHS tape was chewed up by the machine while we were trying to record it.
They didn't have it on tape, but the investigators were now convinced that Esther wanted her ex-husband dead. A background check revealed that Esther had good reason to fear that Josh would win their custody battle.
A few years prior to this incident, she had been arrested by the Drug Enforcement Administration on a prescription fraud case.
It turned out that Esther's clinic hadn't shut down as a result of poor management. According to the indictment, Esther had written unnecessary prescriptions, providing patients with illegal amounts of painkillers.
She wanted everybody to like her, so, if they came in and said, hey, I need Xanax, they got Xanax.
Eventually, the large number of prescriptions raised a red flag with the DEA. In the resulting sting operation, Esther had illegally prescribed pain medications to undercover agents.
Well, of course, all H broke loose at that point, and DEA raced in and shut things down.
She eventually made a plea bargain agreement on 4 counts of illegally prescribing narcotics.
Her major concern was how this was going to affect her ability to get custody of her daughter.
Esther's plea deal had allowed her to dodge prison time. Instead, she was sentenced to 5 years probation. She also had to surrender her medical license and ultimately close her clinic. And just as she feared, the drug conviction had also cost...
With a felon, or do you want your daughter living with, her father? And if I was guessing, I would say that played heavily on the judge's decision in that case.
And if that loss wasn't enough, by the time Paul Bell bumped into Esther at the Aurora Christian Service Center in October of 2007, she'd fallen on hard times.
After she lost her medical license, she went to working for Taco Bell and the Christian Center.
She had nothing. She didn't have her marriage anymore. Her daughter wasn't there. And that really hurt her self-esteem. And she has real low self-esteem.
Her recently diagnosed bipolar disorder didn't help matters either.
With bipolar, you don't think before you act. And she jumped into situations where she didn't think.
A devastating divorce, financial ruin, and mental illness. To the investigators, Esther Wadley was clearly a woman on the edge.
At that point, we felt it necessary to inform Josh Milliger of his ex-wife's plans.
On the evening of October 23rd, the investigators met with Josh at the car dealership where he worked.
We asked him to come out and sit in our vehicle with us.
I don't know why. They won't tell me. I'm just basically told to get in the car with these 2 great big officers.
Coming up, the officers deliver what they figured would be shocking news.
I laid out that we had been in negotiations with his ex-wife for us to kill him.
But Josh has shocking news of his own.
I said, this isn't the first time. And they were just bewildered. They're like, what do you mean this isn't the first time?
October 23, 2007. Esther Wadley's ex-husband Josh Milliger sat in a parked car outside the Ford dealership where he worked. An investigator from the Missouri Highway Patrol had just informed Josh about an undercover operation conducted days earlier.
I laid out basically the information we had that we had been in negotiations with his ex-wife for us to kill him.
The response that came out of my mouth was, again.
The officers were taken aback.
They said, what do you mean again? I said, this isn't the first time. And they were just bewildered. They're like, what do you mean this isn't the first time? I said, well, you hadn't talked to the DEA?
Rogers and Mushy told Josh they knew all about Esther's police record. But did they know the whole story? She was entirely her fault. While the officers took notes, Josh spent the next hour and a half cataloging his ex-wife's alleged transgressions, starting with the sudden termination of her job with the Missouri prison system.
Josh was told she quit, that they advised her to quit because of all the men there.
Josh told the officers he'd only learned the truth after Esther filed for divorce. She hadn't quit. Esther had been fired.
She was having an inappropriate relationship with an inmate that the prison officials found out about.
According to Josh, he suspected the affair had been Esther's first attempt to have him killed.
She had found a gentleman who had a very violent background who was getting ready to be released on parole. And she basically wanted him to murder me.
That particular murder plot fizzled once Esther lost her job, Josh claimed. But did she stop trying? Not according to Josh.
It was about 2003. Divorce was in full swing, and I was driving home from work, and I just hear this banging sound. Two quick bang, bang, metallic on metallic, pinging sound. And I thought, what in the world was that?
Josh claimed it was only when he'd pulled into the driveway and exited the truck that he realized what had just happened.
I realized there's 2 bullet holes in the door of my truck.
Josh told the detectives that he had called the local sheriff's office, but they didn't make a report. Was Josh telling the truth? Was the plot involving Paul Bell merely the latest in a long string of attempts on her ex-husband's life? The police couldn't be sure, but they couldn't take any chances either.
We believed that she was serious.
If she wasn't going to use our undercover officer as the hitman, we were afraid that she might find someone else to do it.
However, as the investigators explained to Josh that night, there was one small catch.
They don't feel that they have enough information at this time to arrest her.
And their advice to Josh? Sit tight.
We discussed being extra cautious, looking over his shoulder.
They told me basically do nothing. Be aware of my surroundings, and told me not to do anything different.
Josh promptly ignored the warning. Less than 24 hours after meeting with investigators, he sent his daughter to stay with relatives out of state.
Even though they told me anything that I did could potentially jeopardize their case, it was unacceptable. Within 10 minutes of them leaving, I was making arrangements for her to leave.
Unaware that Josh had already potentially jeopardized their case by sending his daughter out of town, Sergeants Rogers and Mushy continued to build their case against Esther.
Sergeant Rogers had other telephone conversations with her, trying to put the plan together, mainly for her to give some more money to us.
I ain't doing this for nothing, and that's what I've got so far is nothing. Do you understand that? I mean, does that not make sense?
Esther was extremely reluctant to close the deal with the hitman over the phone.
Dr. Wadley was very cautious in what words she had used.
She wanted to meet privately. What she wanted to do was make sure by meeting me personally on a one-on-one basis that I was not a police officer. I wouldn't have had the problem in doing that other than what she had in mind is not how you conduct business.
Slowly, over the next couple of weeks, Sergeant Rogers worked to gain Esther's trust. But the first weekend in November, the investigation suffered a serious setback. Esther discovered that her daughter was out of town.
She got visitation of every other weekend. My daughter was out of state, so I missed the drop-off.
According to Josh, the result was a confrontation outside the Ford dealership.
She comes flying in, slams on the brakes, and jumps out of that car. And she's just, "Where's my daughter?" Got in the car and drove off.
On November 29th, Esther had her final phone conversation with Sergeant Rogers. In it, she essentially canceled the hit.
She says, "You say you won't do anything if I don't give you money, and I'm telling you you're not getting money, so go on down the road."
Why had Esther told the hitman to hit the road? Josh had inadvertently given Esther grounds to challenge the custody ruling by taking their daughter out of state and defying their final custody agreement.
We have what's known as the abducted child law, and that law prevents a person who's been involved in a divorce from taking a child out of the state without the permission of the other parent.
Esther said, "I'm going to go to the prosecuting attorney and try to get criminal proceedings brought against him for denial of visitation."
And if Esther called the whole thing off, wouldn't the case against her collapse too?
The state law in Missouri is that if you do show such an obvious renunciation of purpose, that in and of itself is a renunciation of the conspiracy.
But she'd never get the chance to file denial of visitation charges against Josh. On December 3rd, officers from Missouri Highway Patrol and Aurora City Police knocked on Esther's door.
Dr. Wadley answered the door, and I told her that she was under arrest for a conspiracy to commit murder.
She went quietly. There were no protests and no questions.
You could almost feel her melt when you put the handcuffs on her, and she knew what she was being arrested for.
Coming up, the case goes to court.
Esther had taken significant steps to have her ex-husband murdered.
But can prosecutors make it stick without testimony from a key witness?
The man that was supposed to do the hit, why didn't he testify?
On the morning of December 3rd, 2008, Esther Wadley's trial began at the Lawrence County, Missouri courthouse. Charged with conspiring to murder ex-husband Josh Milliger, Esther had spent the year since her arrest in custody.
She was held without bond due to the fact she was out on federal probation.
The probation stemmed from the 2004 case that had ended with Esther pleading guilty to prescription fraud. But this time, facing up to 15 years in prison for the conspiracy charge, Esther chose to take her chances in court.
She was confident from the start that she will be exonerated of these charges.
Why was Esther so confident? For starters, the judge had ruled any discussion of Esther's prior drug conviction off limits.
That had no relevance whatsoever to this case, was inadmissible in the case that we were trying.
So when Esther Wadley walked into the courtroom that morning, jurors didn't see a convict who'd gone from running her own clinic to working at Taco Bell. They saw an attractive, successful woman.
You have a very bright, driven young woman who made her way through med school.
In his open, the prosecutor told jurors not to judge Esther on her appearance, however. Instead, he claimed the evidence would reveal she was a bitter woman. According to the prosecutors, Esther not only blamed Josh for the devastating divorce that derailed her life and cost her custody of their daughter, she was determined to make him pay.
Esther had taken significant steps to have her ex-husband murdered. She had met with me and openly identified her ex-husband as the man to be killed.
In its open, the defense declared that Esther was merely the victim of miscommunication and an overzealous investigation.
Officer Rogers was very solicitous, very leading, very suggestive in what it was that he thought that she wanted him to do. She never was totally acknowledging she wanted him to do anything.
The prosecution's first witness was Josh, who walked the jury through the nasty divorce and the resulting custody battle. Then the prosecutor put his star witness on the stand, Paul Bell. In his testimony, Paul detailed how Esther had approached him at the Christian Service Center and supposedly asked for help hiring a hitman.
She said, I know you've got friends, and lots of them. And said, I know you know someone that can do the job. I said, yeah, I probably do.
Paul Bell is one of those kind of people that likes to please other people, and he could please Esther by doing what she wanted.
On cross, Esther's attorney questioned whether Paul had read more into Esther's comments than she intended.
The defense attorney tried to show Paul Bell as a simple man who really didn't understand what was going on.
There never was any intent to conspire to violate the law. There was both a misunderstanding and miscommunication by Mr. Bell.
Of course, it wasn't entirely a case of Esther's word against Paul's. Sergeant James Mushy also took the stand for the prosecution.
I testified on our meetings that, evidence given to us by Paul Bell, the pictures, the documents, the money.
Sergeant Mushy's testimony also walked the jurors through the parking lot meeting where Sergeant Rogers posed as the potential hitman.
Sergeant Rogers held up the photograph of Josh Milliger and asked if that was for sure the right guy that she wanted killed, and she indicated that was the right guy.
That's what Sergeant Mushy testified, at least. But due to an embarrassing technical glitch, the conversation hadn't been caught on tape.
Obviously, we would have liked to had a nice color video and audio of her meeting with Sergeant Rogers.
The prosecutors did have Sergeant Rogers, however.
Mike Rogers, in my opinion, was the focal point of this entire case because Sergeant Mushy was really not a first-person, hands-on conversant in any conversation with Esther Wadley.
But on December 4th, the prosecution rested without calling Sergeant Rogers to the stand.
The man that was supposed to do the hit, why didn't he testify?
According to the defense, the answer was obvious. If Rogers had taken the stand, Esther's attorney could have cross-examined him about the November 29th phone call to Esther.
Mike Rogers said, I'm not going to do anything unless you give me money. She said, I'm not giving you money, so you need to just go on down the road because that's the end of this.
Under Missouri law, the renunciation of purpose was enough to clear her of conspiracy charges. So according to her attorney, that final phone call with Mike Rogers meant Esther was innocent.
Even if you don't believe anything about the miscommunication, you've got to believe that there was an obvious, unequivocal renunciation of purpose.
In fact, the defense was so confident that prosecutors had failed to present a convincing case. They also rested without putting Esther on the stand.
They cross-examined everybody, which was maybe 5 or 6 people. They gave a closing statement, and that was it.
According to Esther's attorney, there was no need for her testimony anymore.
No one ever said anything about killing her husband on any of the tapes. All evidence in the case suggested that Mike Rogers was told, you're not getting any money from me. I don't know what Paul Bell had you do. I don't know what you're going to do.
And when the case went to the jury on the afternoon of December 4th, Esther appeared every bit as confident as she had the day before.
She believed that she had never crossed any line, legal line, that would bring this down on her.
Coming up, the verdict.
I was so nervous when that
4th, 2008. It was a year and a day since Esther Wadley had been arrested and charged with conspiring to murder ex-husband Josh Milliger. And she'd already spent every one of those 366 days in jail.
Being on federal probation or parole, the marshals kept her in custody until the trial.
And now it was up to a jury to determine if Esther remained in custody. One thing was certain, at least. She wouldn't have to wait long for an answer.
The jury came back after just a short deliberation.
I was so nervous when that jury walked back in there. I mean, I was shaking.
But when the foreman rose to read the verdict, it was Esther's turn to be shaken.
The judge asked him what their verdict was. And, Your Honor, we find the defendant, Esther Wadley, guilty.
It was like somebody knocked the wind out of her sails.
The verdict also shocked her parents, who were convinced that their daughter was not guilty.
We were devastated. We all sat there or held each other for 10 or 15 minutes. Could not believe it.
Even more devastating, the judge gave Esther the maximum sentence, 15 years.
The judge found it ironic and inconsistent with the very makeup of someone who was a doctor to consider something like this.
He said, you took an oath to heal, not harm. And you could just kind of see a little anger in his face.
From the drug charges and divorce to the custody battle and the conspiracy murder conviction, Esther's downfall has been complete.
It's unfortunate that a woman with her intelligence and her obvious resources threw that all away.
And the man she was convicted of conspiring to murder, he was relieved.
6 years of stress and drama and aggravation, I just want her out of my life.
Ironically, Josh Milliger managed to achieve what Esther couldn't, get rid of a troublesome ex.
The love that people have for their children can overcome anything. And it can manifest itself in a good way or a bad way. People can do unbelievably great things because of their family, or they can be unbelievably evil because of their family. And Esther chose the wrong way.